So welcome everybody. This is my second specific gathering of the year. We're all, some of you already know each other. Some of you who are new will be thinking, you all know each other. Some people do, some people don't. There's various things that Vanessa and Gemma put on through the year. So I'm going to do a little recap on some of the introduction I did last time, just so that you've got some context. So the reason for me hosting this particular event, and I'm going to be doing them quarterly. So when we move into 2026, I'm going to be much more proactive and organised, and we'll have them set up. If Vanessa lets me come back to play, of course, we'll have the dates set up. I'm always well behaved, Vanessa, you know that. We had our first one back at the beginning of June, because it wasn't until then I thought, actually, I've got this brilliant completed piece of work. And a couple of you have mentioned the fact that there's an app. Some of you will be thinking, I have no idea what you're talking about. I just see a Facebook post and I want to come and chill in the woods. But I have this piece of work that I'm just going to briefly explain. And I realized actually people still need that physical connection, and people still wanted to get together. I wanted to create something based on my work and my experience and my skills and my tools that could reach across the world, different countries, and we weren't limited by geography. And I spent the last 18 months doing that. And during that time, I stepped away from the front line, and I've not been out in communities, partly for my own burnout, to try and protect my own boundaries, and partly because it was so important for me to put this piece of work together. But I did realise coming into spring of this year, actually, I can't forget or dismiss the fact that we do need that physical space. So I wanted to create something that would be an annual thing. So once a quarter, as the seasons change, 4 times a year, I'd be able to create this space. And I wanted to make sure that it was, and I hope I've done it well. It's going to change as we go, and your feedback's great. But I hope that I can create a space where you can just come. You can just come, and you can come once if you want to come once and get some value from it. You might come to every single one of them, all 4 in a year, and never have anything to do with Mojo School or my piece of work. Just connect with people, have a cup around the fire, have a conversation. There'll always be some activities to do, something creative, something to kind of get you thinking, and something to take home. And that's perfectly fine. You can do that, absolutely, and it will work like that. If you want to find out more about my pieces of work and you want to get involved, then we've got this lovely structure with some mentors that you can have a chat and you can find out more, and you'll have that little support system set up. But it's not a prerequisite to come to these things, and there's never going to be any pressure or any expectation or any lead in. I'm not trying to, we said this before about starting a cult. I'm definitely not trying to start a cult. Well, I know, and I said this last time, and my husband's like, are you sure? And I'm like, I don't think I am. It's 100% not.
It's not a bad cult, to be fair.
Is there a thing? Is there a thing as a good cult? No, but we talk. Yeah, we do. We talk about this quite a lot when we have our get-togethers and our meetings about the differentiation and the difference between having a community. Yeah, Waco, yeah. And I think the difference that we came up with is in terms of kind of leadership and the reasons behind it and the framework that's built, so that you have this space where there's always accountability, there's always distributed leadership. There's usually one person holding the space, and I think of that as my job, the kind of way show or the pathfinder. But there's never that one person that's completed life on. In fact, I'm sitting in a chair that looks like I'm on a throne, and I'm going to say these words, and it's gonna. But I know. I feel like you should next time, Angela. I feel like next time I will dress up. But having that space where there's no such thing, especially in the community of wellness and healing and that kind of all those woo-woo words, self-development, psychology. Even if you go through the science route, there's lots of very negative practice that's really quite disturbing and quite harmful across the spectrum from one end to the other, where there are systems set up where people are preying on the vulnerable, for want of a better word, and people who are really kind of feeling lost or lonely or broken or whatever other word you want to use will desperately be trying to find something that will fix them. So the concept that I wanted to kind of bring to people is that you are the people that do your own healing. There's no such thing as a healer. You do your own healing, but there needs to be a space held and a container held for that to take place. So I wanted to create something that would give a really person-centered approach, loads of tools, loads of wisdom and opportunity to meet and connect with other people, so that you decide where you're at, you decide what you need, and you build your own path, as opposed to somebody saying, here's my doctrine, here's my list of rules, you do as I say. And do you see the difference? That's what, that's how I wanted to approach it. And I've specifically got some really incredible people at my back calling me out on that at every opportunity. So I've tried to build in that structure, that accountability structure, to make sure we stay in line with integrity and values, and we're actually creating this space that's different to anything that I've seen before, and that really does empower people and support people every step of the way. So that's what I've tried to do, and this is what these sessions are going to be all about. And I'm going to talk you through, because somebody has already mentioned medicine wheel, a couple of you have, that you've come across it anyway before I've talked about it, and Mojo School, as it's now called, because it's finished, completed body of work, it's all done, it just needs eyes on it now. Here's what I made earlier. Is based on the past. I mean, it's a lifetime's work, really, when I think back to my childhood, and there's a lots of story sharing that's going on now on the inside, where you can find out more about my particular journey, but kind of lifetime's work building my own toolkit, finding things out, as we all do. And then the last 10 years in particular, working in mental health, in the field of mental health, as an instructor, and personal development, the wellness space, the coaching space. Everyone's a coach, aren't they, at the moment? Everybody is a coach. But I've spent the last 10 years working with some brilliant people, a couple of really good neuroscientists, psychotherapists, counsellors, all kinds of people from the neuroscience background, right the way through to spiritual leaders at the other end of the camp. And I've been out honing my skills and learning as much as I possibly can, and working out on the front lines with very different groups of people, which is where I met Rob and we met Harry, and I've done lots of work with some quite significant trauma spaces, lots of work with drug and alcohol in the homeless communities, with young people, lots of county lines work, teenagers in particular struggling in and out of school. That kind of stuff seemed to be my superpower. But also with older people who are isolated, maybe have lost their partner and don't have any family around them. We've worked with pregnant ladies during lockdown that didn't have any support because of the restrictions, cancer patients and their families, military veterans and their families. So a real widespread demographic over 10 years. And which I thought, now I look back, is quite unusual. Normally you have a group or a target and that's what you do, isn't it? You work with that. But I just was called to do pieces of work all over the place. And what I'd found, we were getting commissioned by local authority and health board and various charities, because we were really good at it. We were just good, and we didn't know why. But I had this little magic bag of tools that I'd collected along the way, like 500 different tools that I'd have. Lots of things around traditional sort of CBT and DBT type of stuff. I have my skills in NLP, which you've probably all heard of that, neuro-linguistic programming, how to build rapport, active listening, coaching skills, all those kind of things. And I also had the other end of the spectrum, so that the part of me that tends to stay behind closed doors a little bit, unfortunately, because of credibility reasons, is I've also been Reiki master for many years. 27 years I've been a Reiki practitioner, and I've been involved in a lot of traditional holistic therapies. But I like to think of being the counterbalance in between, because I'm very scientifically minded, and I like I feel like it's the same thing, just different language, really. So I had all of these tools in my toolkit, and depending on what the need of the person was or the group, I'd work with them and listen. So I didn't have a prescription of, this is the project, this is what you're going to do whether you like it or not. I have a tick list, so we're going to do this, 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 and this. You're going to like it, you're going to feel better, and you're going to give me good feedback, because we know that doesn't work, right? So I would go into a space, and it's quite stressful as a practitioner not knowing, for starters. And those of you who are from teaching background will know, you want to know what you're doing and what the outcome is going to be before you even go in there. But you can't with human beings, because you don't know, right? You don't know what you don't know. So I'd have to work on those skills of getting into a space where I didn't know what I was walking into, and I would just listen, just be present and listen, and really try and focus, even if it was a chaotic space, on what that person was trying to say. Sometimes the non-verbal cues, what their body language was saying, what they were saying without speaking, if that makes sense, the things they were leaving out. There's plenty of time for hugs, Ellie, later. But I did that naturally. That was kind of a natural thing for me. You learn that a lot when you do this kind of training anyway, but it definitely came naturally anyway, just kind of listening. And we'd be able to weed out sometimes it'd take weeks, which I know a lot of statutory services and schools don't have that luxury of having time, but we would build that in. Weeks to kind of break down some barriers and for people to feel safe, like psychologically and emotionally safe enough to open up about some of this stuff. Because I'm a raging creative and I present this way, which is a lot more relatable than a lot of very clinical spaces or education-based spaces, that helps. But I would bring out some creative, really soft creative stuff, which we know from science, even though, you know, it's often been discredited, is a really good way to get disclosures and to get people to start thinking and open up about stuff. So I'd bring out these kind of things. And then we'd find out what was really going on for people. And most often than not, regardless of age, demographic, any of those things, people wanted to be seen and heard and understood and validated regardless. That would seem to be the common denominator, just feeling overlooked and overheard and nobody understands, right? So we would do these pieces of work and then we'd find out, okay, I feel a bit better now. Someone gets it, someone understands me. And then we'd start to go through the process of working out of mapping. And some of you have done maps and some of you met Anthony on Saturday. We use this incredible tool that you'll get a chance to have a play around with if you like tonight. And we'd start to weed out what was going on, what's in your swamps, what is it, what are the triggers, and how can we navigate this terrain and this territory. And what would happen then is the group, usually, or the person, would disclose something that really mattered to them. Like, oh, I love music. I don't tell anyone that because I've always been told I'm shit at it. But I love writing. I write poetry and I'd love to make it into a song. Or I really love to cook and I'm quite good at it. But, you know, I don't want to tell anyone that. Or sing. Or whatever it might be. Or I've got really green fingers and I'm good at growing stuff, but I don't have any space at home. So we would listen and we pick those things out, and then we would bring in a facilitator who was suitably experienced and qualified and vetted by us that had that skill. Because I had the listening skill and I had that kind of superpower of weeding things out. I don't know anything else. So we had this great team of people that we could bring in to do the practical stuff, skills building. People felt that they had purpose. People felt that they were contributing something. And so all that work out in the front line got us really popular for a good while. But the story doesn't end there, folks, because that isn't sustainable in the society that we live in, because, you know, I am just one person. I have a brilliant team, but it got to the point where there was so much unmet need, and some of you have been through that space with me and that you kind of remember it. There were so many people struggling, and there was so little funding that we would just get thrown out in all kinds of very difficult, precarious situations, trying to be good people and doing good things. But it ended in my kind of careening towards another burnout, which I promised myself I was never going to do ever again. And my kids and my husband were going, you know what you're doing right now, don't you? Shut up, I'm too busy. It's fine, it's fine. And I was kind of spinning the wheels and thinking, I know this because I've been here and I teach this and I can feel it and I've got no way out because everybody needs me. You know, my ego was right in the room there. Everybody needs me to fix them and I have to do this work because, you know, so it was a lot of learning on my part to kind of extract myself out of some of those situations. Still be a good person, still do what I wanted to do and what I feel like I'm here to do, but put some really good boundaries in place. So I'm actually walking the talk and not doing that whole do as I say, not as I do. Have good boundaries while I'm on the floor, not having particularly good boundaries. So it's always a challenge and I'm always still in that space. And again, my good friends call me out on it, rightly so, because you need that accountability. But that's what led me to create Mojo School as it is now. And as a few people had said at the time, oh, you just need to clone yourself. And it made me think, is it actually me? Is it me personally? And I don't really think it is. I mean, I have good rapport with people and you like my voice, which is very kind of you. But I don't think it's particularly me. I think it's my set of skills and knowledge and tools and my approach to things. So I thought, well, actually I can, because we've now got digital capability. We've got some brilliant technological advancements which will allow me to create a learning platform, an app, because everybody wants to doom scroll. Even if you're desperate to come out to the woods and do self-care and your brain's going, go for a walk. You're like, no, I need to doom scroll a little bit longer. So I thought, well, we have to lean into that, right? If that's how people are communicating and how people want to spend their time, if I can create something that leans into that and gives them the chance to scroll while they're learning and building tools, then that's my contribution. That's my part of the jigsaw piece. So I put all the tools based on all of the neuroscience, all of the psychotherapy stuff, all of the things that I was good at and that I've been working on out in the field. And I've overlaid it on this beautiful ancient framework that I keep banging on about called the medicine wheel. And that's what I'm going to show you. And that's what I'm going to kind of use to give you some context to what we're going to do tonight. So when we met in June, those of you that were here in June, I gave you a bit more of an introduction. We did some psychotherapy stuff and I showed you my amygdala. Sounds really rude, but it's not. But there'll be no flashing of amygdalas tonight. It's fine. But the video that I've sent to a few of you and that's there, this is why I'm filming these sessions. So if people miss them, they can catch up if they want to. So that was the very first session. And what I wanted to do is capture the essence of this whole framework that's been used by Indigenous cultures all over the world since time began. Right, so Mr. Anthony Willoughby, that some of you have met, will give a beautiful explanation of that. And part of my quest to understand people, human behaviour, what is missing, led me to my own personal practice. And I'm a Welsh girl, and I followed this particular Celtic version, this framework, for many, many years, and it's helped me navigate some pretty tricky parts of life. So I thought, well, I know that works for me, and I know that it's fundamentally a part of being human and what it means to be well. And I look at my learning and what I've developed in terms of psychotherapy and coaching and all of the neuroscience top-down stuff. And I've always thought, that's brilliant, I love that. And we've got so much science coming out now, but that's one part of what makes us well. And we're so focused on that one part, and people are really confused as to why we all still feel like shit. So can I find a way to bridge the gap and to bring this whole thing together so people can understand the whole holistic picture? And the word holistic has its own connotations, right? Doesn't it? You think holistic, that's massage, isn't it? Holistic, that's aromatherapy or reflexology, because we're used to having that holistic therapies. But the word holistic, it simply means the whole thing, the whole picture, the whole person in this case, or it could be the whole family or the whole community or the whole school. The holistic picture is what's really important that we miss, that there are parts, there are layers, there are different facets to what makes us really, really complex parts of being human. And if we don't meet them in balance, if we don't even know about them or understand them, then of course we're going to be sick. The word disease is dis-ease. We've got to kind of understand some of these things. So I thought, right, technology, check. We've got an app. We've got all this brilliant new stuff coming out. We can use AI to do all kinds of incredible stuff now. And we can use it for good rather than the sort of scary things that people are saying about, AI advancements. We can use this as a tool to be efficient and develop something. We've got these brilliant platforms that people have on their phone. You can learn. We can cross, cultural barriers. We can get language translations. We can reach all across the world. Brilliant. We've got the neuroscience. We've got more and more neuroscience coming out all the time now. Things that are being taught at university are now obsolete, which is another topic of mine around education, because things are moving so fast. We've got all this incredible brain science. We know how humans behave. We know what's going on and what the connections look like. And most importantly, we know about something called neuroplasticity, which is our brain's ability to change itself over time. So some of the work that I do is around that concept of wherever you're at right now is not where you need to be staying. You can change anything. But we've still lost that basic Indigenous wisdom of what it means to be human, of getting your feet on the ground, of connecting in around your campfire with your people, finding your tribe, understanding the cycles of nature and all those things that are woo-woo, which is always a negative connotation, like, oh, sorry, and I do it all the time, apologizing for being woo-woo or for being a tree hugger or a unicorn stroker. But actually it's about understanding what that really does mean. And that's part of my work, to kind of to think about language and to think about actually why have we been taught and why do we believe that these things are actually a bit silly, a little bit sort of quackery, a little bit backwards, a little bit. Why are we not understanding that they're all part of the bigger picture and they're actually everything, every part of that is valid? So my purpose that I've kind of come to the conclusion of I'm here is to be that translator and bridge that gap and to build in that credibility, to lean into technology, to understand the neuroscience, but not to forget actually this missing jigsaw piece we need to actually focus on and translate it from this language. But this is exactly my point. It's starting to bridge these gaps and have these conversations. So people who, it doesn't mean that everybody has to agree or embrace this. It's just having it knowledge, isn't it? And I'm making sure that people don't automatically have these assumptions, especially our next generations who are not having a great time because they're so disconnected. So if we can find ways to bring this, and Vanessa does it beautifully, but it's about shifting culture around, and it's just about awareness of everything, awareness of how your brain and your body connect, teaching kids the actual science behind what's going on for them and how to navigate anxiety. And the whole point of this beautiful rendition that I've done to show you is exactly this, the medicine wheel approach, right? And it's all about the fact that you as a whole person have four parts to self, and this is what humans have known since the beginning of time, and it's what I've based the whole of Mojo School on. And we did these last time, so we've got some things if you want to create your own, you can, and you can take it home with you. But if you think about the 4 quarters in this particular context, each 4 quarter represents a different part of yourself that you need to understand and work on and meet in balance in order for you to be completely well. These 4 quarters represent directions on a compass. There's lots of different reference points that you can kind of anchor yourself onto, and they'll also represent a different element. So we started off in June with this first event that I did here was the first pillar of Mojo School, which is called Awaken. It's the Awaken pillar, and it corresponds to the direction of the east, where the sun rises, where things begin. And it's the element of air. It's all around fresh thinking, clear perspectives, blowing away the cobwebs and starting the process. And it's the part of self that it relates to is mental health, and that's where we need to start with everything, because you can't engage or understand anything else when your brain's so fizzy you can't focus on anything, right? So mental health has to come first in my framework, and this is where all of the tools inside Mojo School. So mental health, and this is where the top-down stuff happens. So in this particular pillar, this Awaken pillar, loads of tools, loads of resources, and the workshop we did last time here, if you don't do anything with the online platform but you just come to the physical session, it's where we talk about the amygdala and the brain science. It's where we do your territory map and you look at where your swamps are, what your triggers are, and it's the top-down cognitive approach. So there's loads of different CBT style activities to get you thinking about your thoughts. There's lots of thought reframing exercises. There's lots of cool stuff that I used out in the community for years, and you'll find in psychotherapy spaces and counselling rooms all up and down the country. It's the tried and tested stuff that works to help you understand what's going on for you. It's a bit of a triage, helps you assess where you're at. And there's lots and lots of tools for you to build your own toolkit. I can't tell you what works for you, and that's the difference. I'm not going to say, you need to do this technique because it's my modality and I can charge you £100 an hour to teach you it. Because I don't know if that's going to work for you, but there's lots of different things for you to start to play with and discover. And you'll find some tools that work for you in that space that will support you. Great, stick them in your tool bag. You've got something that will help you manage anxiety in real time on a daily basis if you're experiencing that. There's some support on mindfulness. Again, super woo-woo. No, it's not. The science behind cultivating a mindful practice simply means not ruminating about the past or worrying about the future, trying to find ways to actually be present and enjoy your experiences as they're happening. So does that make sense so far? That first quarter, that Awaken pillar, is all about the thoughts that go on and the mental space. Then we're going to move around, and this is why we're here tonight, and we are going to do something in a minute, I promise. We're going to move around to the north, and the north is where we look at physical stuff. So once you've got your mental health toolkit and you've got a starting point, you understand what your thoughts are doing, you understand some of the past programs that they might have come from, some where your triggers have arrived from, you know that, you've got some tools in place, but actually when you're in the middle of having a panic attack, you can't think your way out of that. So it's just one part of the puzzle. You need to understand what your body is doing in those moments. So what we do in this direction, and the pillar is called balance in Mojo School, it's all around physical health. And we look at things like how to breathe properly, because we don't breathe properly. How to breathe. Things like grounding, like Vanessa's doing, and she's going to talk about. Somatic therapies, things like pendulating and orienting, which you've probably never heard of, but they're really good tools in somatic therapy, which is the bottom-up approach. So the bottom-up is using your body to help calm your mind down. And in a lot of spaces within mental health and in trauma, when your body is really reacting to something that it's perceiving, or it's bouncing back to something that's happened in your past, the only way that you could come out of that state and back into your sympathetic nerve, your parasympathetic nervous system, is to use your body, move your body, and understand that your body is safe. And then your mind catches up. So we've got this beautiful space where we've got top-down stuff, cognitive, understanding, CBT, thought reframing, loads of tools. And then you're also building the bottom up. You know what your body's telling you. You know how to work with your body. You understand how to connect in with your environment. You know how to connect in with your community, find your tribe, all of those things. We cover things like nutrition and sleep hygiene and all of those physical things that are going to help round out that toolkit. But that's only half the picture, right? You've got 2/4 there. And if you're any good at maths like what I was, that's half a wheel. So there's still more to go there. There's still more work to do. So the next time we meet, I would love to see you all there. It's when we're going to move round to the Evolve pillar of Mojo School. That's connected to the direction of the West. It's connected to your emotional health, emotional literacy. So all kinds of cool things sit there, but you can't move to this space until you have a good enough solid resilience toolkit to be able to process some of this stuff, right? This can be stuff that you've held on for years and years and years, and it doesn't feel safe to even go near that stuff. But you'll have highlighted some of these things in the rest of the work that you've already done. And then by this point, you're ready to kind of maybe let some shit go. And that could be by, we look at things like lots of very safe, creative ways of doing things. Even if you don't feel creative, the best way to process emotions or energy in motion, as it is to get it out of your body by Write Your Way to Wellness is a whole course in Mojo School called Write Your Way to Wellness with journaling prompts, lots of kind of shadow work stuff. You learn about things like comedy, which, people don't even think about as being therapeutic unless laughter is the best medicine. We look at music medicine, and I know there's people who are, influenced by music and musicians in this space. Drumming, music, creating a playlist. We look at using colour. We look at using all kinds of things to be able to move some of that stuff through. So there's a reason why now, sort of modern thinking, there's lots of people who are in therapy for 20 odd years. I can think of nothing worse, and that feels like a business to me. If someone's in therapy for 20 years and paying to go and have therapy and talk through their traumas over and over and over again, there's a lot of science now saying that that's not always the best way to do things, because you are just, it's stuck in your body, mate, and it's still there and it ain't moving because I'm still feeling like crap after 20 years. So if we can find these sort of, it's called brief effective psychotherapy, where we can highlight what's going on, weed out the root, help your body to manage it, and then get rid of it. It's like apps that you don't need. You want to learn how to swipe them up and get rid of them. So this is how we work around into that space where you can actually start to release some of that stuff from your system. And then you have one more space to go. And that's the direction of, it's called Thrive. It's the Thrive pillar in Mojo School, where you're actually moving now from just surviving to absolutely thriving. It's kind of you evolving through who you were and coming into who you're really meant to be. And we look at lots of self-development stuff. That's where we start doing vision boarding stuff, because you've not got your little saboteurs pinging you back from it. You know who you are at that point. You know what you want to be doing. You think about things like your core values, your boundaries, your identity, your passion, your purpose, your relevance here on this planet. But a lot of people are trying to start at that point. And you mentioned the word spiritual awakening, spiritual development, such a contentious word. I struggle with it all the time because people immediately have an opinion or a thought about it. They'll either connect it to a particular faith, a particular religion, a particular book or doctrine, or a place they've been before, or a symbol that it means to them. We're talking about self-development. It's simply something bigger than self. It's something bigger than self. It's about volunteering. It's about giving back. It's about finding purpose, and that's what it is. And if you connect that to something specific, if you have a specific faith or a specific, thing that means something to you, of course that's where that sits. That is in that space, but that's not what it is. It's something just bigger than self. However that works for you. So that whole framework is how we've kind of developed it into this beautiful space. So you've got, and Ali, you'll be able to tell, there's shit tons of overwhelming stuff. There's just so much stuff because it's a life's work. So I developed it specifically for that reason, because a lot of people, especially some neurospicy brains like mine, want to have this binge watchy Netflix for self-development where you actually can just jump in and pick what resonates and what you want to do. So there's a whole big dashboard there and you can do what you want with it, and you can pick and choose, and there's no pressure and there's no format that you have to follow, because that sometimes is a barrier and people go, no, I don't want to do that because that's like school. And I developed it that way because I learned that way. And then I had lots of feedback from people going, this is amazing, but it's so much. Can you not just hold my hand through the whole thing? So I've created a specific way through. There's a whole pathway. So, but it will all come into place. So there is a whole process. No, it's not at all. Start to finish. Yeah. That you literally in your own time. The videos are like, some of them are like 90-second reels. Some of them are up to 5 minutes, but it is like really quick little fixes. There's loads of accreditations in there, loads of cool stuff. But the whole point of today isn't to try and convince you that that's where you need to be. If you are there, I'm here to help you, and mentors are here to help you. If you're thinking about it or you're interested, that's the opportunity. What I would really love, is if everybody could download the app, because the app's free and there's a whole load of stuff that's free in there. So there's a digital campfire. And every Monday we have Monday motivation, Wednesday wellness, and feel good Fridays. We've created a whole medicine wheel little bite-sized mini course, which I'm going to send you straight to, which will explain everything. And then you'll go, oh, I get it. Through. And the whole point of creating mentors is for that very reason. So we've started a story sharing part of things. Mine is already out. Angie's coming out next week. Yay. And Lucy's is coming out in September. The whole point of trying to create this movement and this framework is to try and meet people where they're at and light people's touch papers. That's it for me. That's all I'm here to do. I am not here to fix anyone. I'm not here to heal anyone. Those things don't exist. I am here to hold space. You will do the fixing, my love. You are going to do the fixing, because I don't know what you need. I don't know what you need. I don't know what's going on for you. I don't know what's going to work for you, but you will if I help coach you through that. So it's all about having this space so that we can start to get things right as a society, and as a community as first, but as a society. And there's this real toxic space where everybody is looking for purpose, right? And you'll resonate with me with this, Donna. You're like, oh my gosh, I think a few of you actually, I'm not even going to name names, but I think every person's going to go, oh my gosh, she's talking to me. You get to the point where if you're such an empathic, compassionate, kind person, and you've got so much shit that's piled up on your back from years and years of stuff, and you're really empathic and you're a real people pleaser because that's your trauma response, you will do anything to try and help other people without focusing on yourselves. Yes, I think I might have been talking to many people around this campfire. And that is something that's really, really common, and we're all in that same space. But that's just like that. This is just the way it is. However, in the self-development space, it's really dangerous and damaging, because lots of people who are massively unhealed, who haven't done any work because it's too scary to look at, are now going, I just done a coaching course and now I'm going to fix you because I'm now a guru and I've completed life on expert level, and just do what I say, because then you can deflect all of your own crap. And there's something called counter-transference, and it's a beautiful space to be when you're in that space and you're a fixer, and you all of a sudden have an audience, and you can work through all your shit. Counter-transference, when you all come up with all crap that you're going through, it helps me process all my unhealed wounds. But that's a really bad space to be in terms of leadership. So I'm trying to create this space where I'm on my journey and I'm always doing my shadow work, and if I need to tap out and do my work, then somebody else is there to pick up, and it's not just one person that's trying to hold this space. So the whole point of creating this sort of mentorship movement is, once we've got this whole massive toolkit, this whole framework completed, newsflash, you haven't completed life on expert level. You are going to still feel shit about things. Life is still going to get in the way. However, you've got this resilience, you've got a good set of tools, and you're in a space where you're happy to share your story, and that's inspirational to other people, but you're doing it from a space of knowledge and of resilience, and you've got the backup. You're not just doing it for the sake of trying to deflect from your own stuff. And Lucy and Angela both say, if at any point you need to tap out as a leader, as a mentor, and you go, whoa, hang on a minute, I've got some stuff going on, the pressure of being there for everybody else isn't there, because you go, okay, I need to tap back out a bit, and somebody else will tag in, and I might have to do that. That's the community I want to create, where everyone's really authentic, really honest, and everyone's on the journey together, and everyone kind of helps each other. And the story sharing is really important. So, you can relate a lot. We've all read each other's stories. It's like, oh my God, that's powerful shit, isn't it? Really powerful stuff, and really vulnerable and really authentic. I hope that's the way it's coming across. But that's the potential to be able to then, you kind of pass it on and light other people's touch papers. And that's the kind of where we're going with it, what we want to create. So, way longer than I wanted to go on for, but that was obviously some important kind of information and context. But this session, we are in the north and we're in the balance space, and it is all around connections, which you're all doing beautifully anyway. We're connected in and we're in this beautiful natural environment. And a couple of the things inside my pieces of work focus on breath work is one of them, really important. And people just don't know how to breathe in the slightest, and people often feel, again, it's another woo-woo thing. See people sat in the lotus position, just breathe. And that horrible, just close your eyes and focus on nothing. You're like, my brain will never let me do that. So you don't, right? So you avoid it. You don't even learn it. You don't even look at that side of things. So a couple of the things that we've got going on, a couple of the tools, is different kinds of breathing that might work. So I'm only going to share a couple that you can start thinking about that work for me. I'm going to talk through what a couple of things that works, and I'm going to invite you to have a go at it either when you're at home or when you want to. But I'm not going to do that whole thing where we all sit and close out again, because the way I work is slightly different. I know that sometimes that doesn't work. If it was a group that I knew would work well, this is what we'd be doing. But because I'm aware of group dynamics and I know that some of you won't want to, I'm just going to briefly explain, and I know Vanessa will be able to sort of back up some of this when she talks about the beautiful power of nature, because it's all very connected. We're always looking at ways to manage your nervous system. That's what it comes down to. It's trying to get out of this chronic fight or flight response, which you'll all have heard of. There's loads more F's, not the F's that you're thinking, but you'll find out more. Loads more F's: fight, flight, freeze, fawn, flock. Loads of F's, all different versions of this sympathetic nervous system that is just prepping your body for escape, right? It's just left over from evolutionary past when there was danger on the horizon. This beautiful, way of being human. There's a switch that gets flicked to keep you alive, right? And it flicks when there's a danger. Chemicals will flood your system. We learned about this last time. And you'll be able to escape. And then you're meant to flick the switch back. That's what's meant to happen. We're supposed to be in the parasympathetic nervous system space, rest and digest. We're meant to be chilling around the fire and cooking and feeding and breeding, it's called. And that's what we're designed. We're not designed for this constant overload of cortisol and adrenaline 24/7 because someone's not liked our Facebook post, or because we're looking at the news, or because these horrible things are just hitting us in the face all the time. The pressure, the labels. There's loads of things that you can do, and you need to test them all out to find out that actually worked for me in my toolbit. So there's so many things that you can try. But the essence of breath work is really trying to connect in with your body, connect in, because we don't listen to what our body's saying. And the more you can manage to focus on your breathing, if you can, and if your thoughts will let you actually focus on the sensation of the breath going in and coming back out again, even just that action is really helpful. And what I'm always encouraging people to do, however they can, is to just try and think about lengthening your exhale. That's it. And you can do it. You can even, while I'm talking, those of you that like the thought of it, we're not going to count and make everyone feel pressure to do it, but you can start thinking about your breath as I'm speaking, and think about counting in your own time, 3 on the in breath and 6 on the out breath. Simple techniques. You can try and just do a double out breath, if that makes sense. Easy. You can try it when you get home. In for 3 and then out for 6. And just that action on its own will help you to get that switch. So thinking again, just before I hand over to Vanessa, about breathing, the only other thing I want to share with you, and this is a personal practice of mine that I do every single day, and it may help, it may not help. If you need a reminder, you can voice note me and I'll voice note it back to you so you can listen to it. And it's something that I learned years and years and years ago, and then failed to practice it for a long time, and I revisited a few years ago. And it's from when I learned my Reiki principle. So Reiki's from Japan. And there's lots of different nuances and lots of different training that you can do, and lots of different things when you're looking at Reiki and your own kind of energy systems. But the 5 principles of Reiki, and I thought, gosh, everyone should learn this in school, even if you don't attach those words to it, so people don't think it's it's the woo-woo stuff. It seems really sensible to me. And one of the exercises I connect in with breath work, and they encourage you to kind of really center and ground yourself anyway, which everyone should do. Even things like feet flat on the floor, bum on a chair, so you can feel yourself being present, is grounding. I mean, I'm going to ask Vanessa just to remind us in a bit about the, having your bare feet on the earth and some of the science behind it. But even with your shoe, just having that solid sense of space and sense of being on the chair is powerful as well. But I have a specific breathing pattern that I do when I'm really trying to do that. That belly breathing is really good. I'm trying to connect in with myself, and while I'm doing these lovely deep belly breaths, where I'm trying to push my belly out when I'm breathing in, there's just 5, and it takes a minute in the morning, but it really, really does help me. So I'm just going to talk you through those 5 things really, really briefly, and then I'm going to pass over to Vanessa. I keep saying that, but I am honestly. And I'm going to give you a hug as well at some point. So the first one, you will if you breathe correctly. So yeah, hopefully they will be, yeah. So the first one, and it's a daily practice, so you're not thinking into the future, you're not trying to stress out about what's happening, it's just day by day. The first one is, just for today, I will not be angry. For today, And I'll take a really big, deep, mindful breath, and I will sigh out that and think, yeah, okay, just for today, I'm not going to be angry. And then the second one is, just for today, I will not worry. I'll have a nice big, okay. Just for today, I will be grateful. Simple, simple tools, just for today. Just for today, I will do what needs to be done with authenticity and honesty. And just for today, I will be kind to all living things. 5 principles of basically being human. And if it works for you, and if you think every morning and every night you can have a few little breaths and think about those things, and it just helps to reprogram your system and your mind and your body into a bit more clarity and a bit of a different way of thinking. And it is all about connecting in with your physical body. What is your body telling you? All kinds of cool tools out there like body scans that you can connect in with your body and find out what's going on. So yeah, I just encourage you to think about that and think about how that works for you. And if there is any breathwork techniques that you like, then feel free to chat away and share with each other. You can even jump on the digital campfire and just share any words of wisdom around that. So just about being connected. So got a little bit of time left, plenty of chilling. You can just sit and chill by the fire and chat if you like. I'm going to give you just a little bit more talky because you know how much I like to talk. And then I've got a couple of things that you can do if you choose to while we're still here until 9. So it's nice and chill this last bit. So in June, we covered the East Quarter, the New Beginnings, the Awaken Pillar at Mojo School, where I showed everyone my amygdala. You missed that bit if you weren't here. Mental health, we talked about. It's gorgeous if I do say so. Yeah, I'm very, very, very proud of it. I flaunt it all the time. All about mental health. So we started that topic and that conversation for me to give you a bit of a taster of what that part of this very ancient framework, that part of the medicine wheel, is all about, but through my lens, my Mojo School lens. So we're talking about all of those pesky thoughts, the sabotaging things that are running in the background that Lucy and Angela and myself are constantly working through. All the things that drive your behaviours that you don't even realise are kind of holding you back. So it's all about that space. And we've done that. We did that in June. That session will be repeated next year. So we're going to do them every quarter. And now we're in the north. So today has been around balance. And it's been around connecting with the environment, connecting with each other, having a think about some practices that will help you sort of return back to your body a little bit. Just a really gentle approach, even just thinking about taking your shoes off or seeing other people taking their shoes off and it's safe and they've managed to do something a bit different, even if it didn't resonate with you. We briefly touched on the topic of breath work. It's something to explore. If you love it, just be aware that there's so many different breathwork tools. You might have one that you know of and like, but just explore that and try and find a way to make your exhale longer than your inhale if you can. And think about those five principles every day, just for today, while you're doing a breather. And then obviously the next time we meet, if you're wanting to come back again, we're going to move into the west. That's going to be hopefully the 2nd of October, and that'll be when we move in, thinking about the element of water, which is connected with emotional currents, and it's all about flow and creativity. Even if you're convinced you're not creative, it's not about being an artist or being a musician. It's about exploring some of the tools that will safely let you just play around and process some of the stuff that you now know that you don't want anymore. So we're going to do some really nice things for that one. And then finally, beginning of December, hopefully the 11th of December, we'll move into the south, which is all about fire energy. It's around transforming from what you once were to what you're now going to become. We're going to do some vision boarding and just some cool work around values and boundaries and connecting in with your purpose. So that's how the rest of the year will wrap up. But just to finish off, one of the topics that I wanted to cover with this particular balance pillar today and connecting in with things, how many people have heard of the 5 Ways to Wellbeing framework? Anybody? I think you've heard of it, haven't you? Because we talked about it before. So 5 Ways to Wellbeing framework, in one of my courses in this quarter of the medicine wheel, there's a whole load of info on it and downloadable templates and videos and stuff. But I've just printed off a couple of those tools just to share with you today, because I thought it's another way to settle into the concept of connections. And if you're really struggling for whatever reason and you're feeling a little bit lost or a little bit floaty or not quite connected, Again, 5 things, sometimes just building in daily practices. You can do it really quite easily once you know how, right? But you don't know what you don't know. So if I share this with you, and the 5 ways to well-being, for me, when I first came across it, I was a little bit kind of, I can't think of the word to articulate it properly, but my eyes rolled so far back into the back of my head, I nearly went into 1986, put it that way. Because I thought, this is dictating how to be a human that we have known for millennia. And this is so, when I tell you what these 5 ways to well-being are, you'd probably think, duh, yeah. But the point is, we have lost touch with them and we don't do them and we're not connected. So the government have had to put this into a framework for us to remember how to be human beings. So the 5 ways to well-being. The first one, connect. It's what we're doing right now. So connect. And I'm going to encourage you, one of the little activities while we've got time here before you go, is I've got enough printouts, I hope, for everyone to give you some ideas. You can take them home with you. But maybe you can write on the back a little pledge, each of those 5 things, what you can do right now to link in with these 5 things, and you can stop tomorrow. So the first one is connect. So it's about strengthening existing relationships, scheduling catch-ups with people maybe, joining a club or a group, like or a cult, for example. Building new connections, so it's volunteering. Yes, just going to drop that in there, subliminal learning and all that. So it's about strengthening existing things that you've got going on. And you're a great example of this week because we've done so much more together. I've known you for a while, but we've kind of, been in each other's radar, and that helps if you've already got some existing connections. Just think about how you could strengthen them. If you need to send out a text, is there something that someone's doing that you could get involved with, maybe you've been putting off? All those kind of things. Building new connections, as scary as that is sometimes, but some of you have come in by yourself tonight and done just that, building new connections. Looking at voluntary work, striking up conversations with people that you meet. Anthony is brilliant at that. Some of you are not sure who this magical creature is. Some of you know him. He just gets on a train and just meets best friends for life everywhere he goes. But it's possible, you can have conversations with people and learn about people that you would never know before. And maybe embracing digital connection. All of its toxicity, there are good ways to embrace digital connection. Staying in touch with people who live far away, for example. We've got that capability now, haven't we? Or getting the Mojo School app and looking for the little people icon, which I will help you with if you're struggling to find it, which will take you straight to our digital campfire. And for me, that's my way of bringing a safe space, because I know it's not like face ache or anywhere you're only going to get trolls or anything negative, or it's all positive, uplifting stuff with people who are like-minded. So that's the first one, connect. The second one is be active. And I know that's not always easy, especially if you have mobility issues or if you have a lot of pain. But there are always ways to think about that in your life and how it applies to you. So just being more active than you are now, however that works for you. And you can find activities that you enjoy. There's lots of different kinds of things that you can look at there. Just finding different ways to move your body if you're able. There's different ways that you can do things compared to what you're doing on a daily basis. And maybe incorporating different kinds of movement or stretching just into whatever else you're doing. Brushing your teeth, for example. It's called habit stacking, and you can get used to doing things whilst you're already doing something familiar. Any way to get active, however that works for you, it's just thinking about how you can increase that in your life. It's not about going suddenly thinking, oh Christ, James told me I've got to do a triathlon now, I'm gonna have to start training, or even I'm gonna have to do a couch to 5k, because that's what that means. It doesn't mean that. It just means slightly more active than you currently are, however that looks for you. It's just changing things up. Number 3 is take notice, and that is about mindfulness. It's about actually taking notice. I don't know whether you're aware that there are birds cheeping, because it's being more aware of your surroundings. It's noticing these beautiful colours, noticing your environment. And there are so many different ways for you to do that. There's loads of meditations out there you could look at. Really engage your senses. The best way to do it is spending time in nature, and that's a really simple way to take notice. But it's about taking notice of any surroundings, whether in work or with your kids, being present with your family, being present when you're out in the supermarket. Just change up your routine and just try and take notice a little bit more. Number 4 is learning. Again, the connotations there would be, well, I'm going to have a shudder because I didn't enjoy school and I hate learning, because a lot of people have that. But it's about learning anything, learning any new skill, or just deciding to embark in some research into a topic you enjoy. Maybe you want to go to the library, do something that will, I call it a learning diet. So I have my learning diet, and there's a certain amount of time per week that I will make sure because I like reading certain kinds of genres of books as my kind of escapism. I'm not good at watching telly, I can't focus, but I get lost in my books. But I make sure that some of my reading time is specifically for what I call my learning diet, and I'll develop new skills, or I will read about some more of the latest sort of science things, or might read journals or papers. So that's specific to me learning something. But you could, you could set yourself a little challenge, or you could decide to, I don't know, I want to learn how to draw, or I want to Duolingo, learn a new language. I'd like to learn sign language. That's next on my list. So it's just thinking about what does learning mean to you, and what could you learn? What else could you bring in? It lights up all the parts of your brain. And then giving back. And giving back, again, doesn't mean you have to spend hours volunteering in a traditional capacity. It could do. There's loads of groups out there that need volunteers. You could give your time and do something practical. But it could be something like random acts of kindness. You might decide, I've seen it before, going to your local library and sticking nice letters in random pages. It could be giving 5 smiles today. As cheesy as that sounds, that's such good medicine. If you're out in the shops and you actually smile at someone and say, oh, your hair looks great, or I love your top, just giving something. It's like a buy one get one free, because you get all these nice juicy dopamine and serotonin hits, and so does the other person. So you feel good and somebody else feels good. So give back is number 5. So 5 ways to well-being. Who would have thought that those 5 things, we needed the government to tell us to do them, because they seem to be quite simple things that we should all be doing anyway. And that's why it's called a practice, because you and I think some people, you'll see this in your day-to-day work. Some people want the quick fix, the quick. I did what you said, I took a deep breath and I don't feel any better. Or I drew this out. And it is explaining to people that, you have to stack these things and you have to really be consistent, and you will feel better, but you have the control over that. Nobody else can give you a magic bullet, a magic pill, a magic formula. No therapist can give you one single tool that will fix you. But that's a brilliant point you've made, because I've learned the hard way that actually it might not. Something that works brilliantly for you might be the worst thing for that person. So it's about encouraging exploration, and that's why we do lots of work with mapping. So I don't know how much time we've got left, but I've got bits of paper if anybody wants to do their own little territory map before we go. Yeah, so we've got plenty. If anybody wants to do a territory map, they are more than welcome to. We'll talk you through it. If you want to write your little pledge on the back of that about what you're going to do with your 5 ways, you can use that as an activity. But if there's one thing that you take away, if you are helping a friend, if you're helping yourself, then I hope that you'll be able to get sort of my whatever I can share will help you. But if you're passing it on, I would say please don't get overexcited when you have something that works for you, and then think, oh, thank God, I found it. You will feel a million times better when you do this. Lots of therapists do that. Not that I'm dissing that. I work with loads of people who have a very specific discipline that works in a lot of cases. But when it doesn't work for you, you then feel worse. So there's a lot of people that things don't work for, and then you feel like the problem. And then you feel like, well, it works for everybody else. I'm broken. I can't be fixed. It works for everybody else. And it's the questions you need to ask, right? You need to ask her, what do you need right now? Because she will say, I need to go for a walk. Whereas you could have said, take 3 deep breaths, because you feel brilliant when you take 3 deep breaths. So try and not do that. What do you need right now is the best question you can ask anyone ever. That's what's worked for me in every situation. And sometimes people don't know, but then you sit with them, you're like, all right, then let's just sit until we do figure it out. And we use mapping, we draw, what's in your swamp is great. So if you want to do that, you can draw your swamp out. The people who are experiencing the challenges usually have the solutions they need. We just don't listen hard enough because we're too busy trying to do this and you'll feel better. And they're like, I'm going to feel like shit if I do that. But okay, I'll put a mask on and I'll pretend to make you feel better. Right? It's all back to front and upside down, isn't it? It doesn't work that way. So just holding space. And there's something called locus of control that I talk about quite a lot as well. And most people have this external locus of control, which means you believe that something out there is what you need, and the resources are external to you. So you need a doctor, a therapist, a teacher. Somebody else has got the answer to your problems. Somebody else has the magic bullet formula or the solution. If only you could find it. And when you learn, and usually sort of coaching questions help with this, or really good therapists, you have an internal locus of control, and you actually have the resources you need. You have the knowledge somewhere. You know what you've experienced, even back to your childhood. You know what's imprinted you somewhere, even if you can't even look at it or go there. You know it's in there. So with the right kind of person supporting, or the right kind of tools, you have all the control over your entire life, of what you do, over how you heal or not heal. You can work on you, right? You can work on you, and you can put all your energy into you, and what you do is you then light up and it ripples out, and the people that are ready will meet you there. But they wait, you see, these feelings that get repressed, they stay in your body as like cellular imprint in your body. They wait to be felt. So the more you stack them up without actually experiencing what you need to experience, you need to metabolize the energy and move it through. So just being sad and having a cry is brilliant medicine. And articulating it, I'm feeling really angry. Why? I don't know, I just feel angry. And be angry for a bit. So important. And it is that whole thing about filling your cup up. Filling your cup up so it overflows, and then you've got enough to give then, haven't you? It is so cheesy, but it's so true. I mean, years and years of several really serious burnouts. I'm definitely the expert. I'm the expert by experience on that one. You have to do it. You've got to prioritize it. It's like charging your phone. You wouldn't let your phone blink on zero. And you wouldn't let your car, well, sometimes I've let my car run out of fuel by accident, but you're generally not supposed to let your car run out of fuel. And it's automatic. Of course, those things are not going to perform unless you do what you're meant to do. With the same, you've got to prioritize that time. And coaching with you, Ange, you're being cleansed. You are, yeah, it's going to follow you now, isn't it? But it's definitely for you. But we've had this conversation, haven't we, a few times about this, about being able to, if you find it really difficult, and this is, again, I'm going to share what worked for me with the caveat that you might not even understand what I'm saying. It doesn't mean I'm telling you, do this and you'll feel better. There's a difference in language between sharing what worked for me, give that a go, see if it helps, then you have to do this because it will fix all of your problems. So that's just the difference there. What worked for me as a raging people pleaser, overachiever, overworker, you can find my story coming out and you can read all about where that came from. It was really hard, even though I could grasp the concept and I knew how vital it was. And I'd been blue lighted to hospital twice at this point, and I knew it was really serious if I didn't get a handle of it. You know, my kids were watching this. So it wasn't that I was being flippant or ignoring it. I just didn't have the skills. I didn't know how, because my trauma drive was so strong in the background. You have to keep going, you have to keep going. And I couldn't break out of that cycle. So I had to start, not anymore, but I had to start by actually scheduling like a work timetable, my self-care time. And I would start off by scheduling certain hours through the week that would be part of my work. It wouldn't be like free time because I wouldn't do it. It would be part of my work is to fuel up because I can't do that without that. And I would think of it that way. And then I would schedule more time in the week and less time on other. And I had to kind of do it that way. Now I will literally be like, get out of the way, I'm having a self-care day, and I'll sit and watch a movie and do nothing because I know I'm balancing the books. If I've had really busy time, I have got no apologies with that. Like I used to be so apologetic. I promise I'll get back to it. I just need 5 minutes to breathe. That was my attitude to things. Yeah, I'm like, no F's given now. So if you've got any time this comes up in your life, why is this always happening to me? You are definitely the problem in that situation, right? It's you. It's always going to be you. And it's really hard to get to that point because it's so easy to deflect and no, because you are putting on me, you are doing this. Relationships that shouldn't be transactional. We do this, especially as people pleasers. That fawn response is so insidious and strong. It's the worst of all of them, really, because you don't realize the damage it can cause. But you have these expectations and this response of, you'll have these transactional relationships where you do and do and do and do because all you want is somebody to reciprocate or to tell you to sit down or to tell you that you've done enough, to tell you it's okay, you're loved anyway. You can have a rest now, it's your turn. And I can tell you that's never going to happen. It's not going to happen because people just want things. Why wouldn't people want things doing for them? If you're going to do and do and do and give and give and give, of course the people are going to be like, cool, I like this. No one is going to say you should stop and let me do all those things for you. It has to come from you, and that's the hard piece of work to do around boundaries, and it's really difficult. Should be easy. It's one of those things that's easy, put a boundary in, and people who have strong boundaries will look at you like you're crazy, like, why are you doing all that shit? What is the matter with you, you doormat? But when you're in that space, it's almost impossible. It feels like you cannot get out of it because it's a trauma response. That reptilian part of your brain believes you're going to be shunned from your tribe, you're going to be disowned from your people, and that's a life or death situation if your attachments aren't strong. So that's what's going on in the background. It's learning that that's what's going on, learning how to manage your body when it tells you you're in danger. And then finally, after practice and practice and practice, your system settles down to the point that you can think, actually, I'm going to say no today. The word no for a people pleaser, I love it now. It's like, no, that's not going to work for me. And guess what? I'm still here. I'm still alive. People haven't abandoned me. Or, people say, okay, fine. I'm like, well, I wasn't expecting that because my whole life I've thought that you're all going to run off. And it's a really interesting piece of reflection when you go back over it and you think, okay, what I thought was going to happen definitely hasn't. And even things like a 1 second pause, buys your brain enough time. If someone asks you, I don't know whether you're the same, but I would have people asking me to do something. And as the question was being asked, and I knew, oh my God, I can't possibly do any more. They're going to ask me to do something. It's going to kill me. I was already saying yes because my body was so conditioned to throw that word out. Of course, I'll do it. And it took me a long time to realize, okay, if I just pause before I answer, I can give myself time to catch up. And for a long time, I had to have this default response of, that sounds really great. Can I get back to you? Because I couldn't say the word no. So when my brain was saying, don't do it, I couldn't actually say and put a boundary in, but I could say, oh, I love the sound of that. I'll get back to you tomorrow. And that gave me the bandwidth to kind of, no, I'm not doing this, and give me a chance to articulate it. So there's lots of skills that you need to build. It's not easy, but it's definitely doable, definitely. And that brings us to an end of this particular quarter.